takeaway. All right, leave it there. Time to move on to Nick's NBA medal stand. John Morant cooking last night at the Staples Center. He dropped 40 and 10 on the Lakers, but just missed out on a medal. Nick, which three guys did it better this weekend?
This was a tough medal stand because almost all the best performances came in losses. We're going to start with the bronze. Kevin Durant, in a loss, played an almost perfect basketball game. He was really good Friday. He was even better Sunday. 38 points on 24 shots for a guy who, thus up to this point in the season, has been the best player in the league very early, but he's been spectacular. He gets a bronze. Silver medal, another loss, Paul George. In a great game against Memphis, game that came down to the very end, Paul George gives them 41 and 10 on 60% shooting, but not quite enough for a win. Tried to pull him back at the very end. He gets the silver. And the gold medal goes to C. Anthony. Not Cole Anthony, who almost got a bronze, but Carmelo. Not only for bailing the Lakers out, but for passing, I would argue, the most underrated, historically great player ever, Moses Malone. He did win 3 MVPs, America. On the all-time scoring list, Melo, 9th all-time scorer. He's coming for you, Shaquille O'Neal. That's who's 8th. So Carmelo, for a night where he passes Moses Malone, bails the Lakers out, he gets the gold medal, Broussard.
I like the list, Nick, and I'm glad you gave Melo love. You know what I'm glad? I have debated with people. I've said Melo's the first ballot Hall of Famer easy, and people have pushed back on me over the years. Him making the top 75, that seals it, right? First ballot Hall of Famer, and there was no debate.
Yes.
I didn't hear anybody saying, oh, what's Melo doing on there? He definitely, yeah, exactly. Melo is a great player. I know he hadn't won a title, but he is a historically great player. I'm glad he had a tremendous game last night in passing or moving into, 9th place. So good for Melo. Good list, Nick.
Yep, next up, Shaq. All right, Kevin Wildes, who just missed the cut?
Ooh, look at the Joker. This is one of the best passes you've ever seen in your whole darn life. Through 3 people. That's why Joker's the 78th best player in the history of the NBA. Back-to-back MVPs, not ruling it out. Feels like that's a hot take no one's got. I might take it just for, it's a bargain. Great pass from the Joker.
That is awesome.
Back to our top story now. Knicks Chiefs getting
put in Nick Foles, to be honest with you. Letting Foles try to work some Brady magic. But I think Brady is gunning for that MVP. Then it's been so easy for them. I wouldn't be surprised if they got a shock in the next few weeks and come down to earth. They're just playing with so much confidence. I think it teeters on overconfidence.
Well, let me start with your point. They are obviously trying to juice Brady's stats. Brady had 200 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. And like you were mentioning at the end, they're throwing the ball on the goal line repeatedly from inside the 3, trying to get him his 5th touchdown. I'm fine with that. Like, Tom Brady totally remade that franchise in his image, took them from a team we never talk about to a team that's in discussion for best team in football. So if he wants to win MVP, and by the way, it's a long league. How many MVPs did you pick before the year, Broussard? We got Jameis. I thought you said Gio Bernard. Now we have Tom Brady as well. It's a long list of MVP picks. But I can't even remember all of them. Josh Allen, I am sure you said at some point. But by the way, big week next week for Broussard's actual MVP picks, Brady and Jameis, because they play each other. But so here's the reason why I'm not comfortable calling them the best team in the NFL. We've seen them play 2 good teams, and they barely beat one and lost to the other. And this is where I think the schedule could work against them. Now, I do think Broussard's going to be right. I think Brady's going to run away with MVP. Because what are they going to be? 14-3, 13-4 at worst. But they're going to they have played 2 teams with a winning record. And the rest of the way, they might only have 1 more game against a team that finishes the year with a winning record, and that's Buffalo. So I think they're going to have an amazing record and amazing numbers. I do have a concern, though, whether or not they're going to be tested enough. And so that I'm not ready to call them the best team in the NFL because somehow, some way, they won the Super Bowl and got the easiest schedule of any team in the league. I don't know how that happened, but it clearly did. But they are playing excellent football on both sides of the ball, Jenna.
Who's not the best team in the NFL? The Chiefs. They played the Titans yesterday. Talk about a lopsided game, and not the way most of us expected. Titans provided the molly-whopping in this one. Derrick Henry throwing a touchdown and running for 86 yards. Ryan Tannehill and A.J. Brown took care of the rest for the Titans, who pulled off a statement win for the second straight week in the AFC. Chris Broussard, is it time to consider the 5-2 Titans real contenders after beating the Bills and the Chiefs?
Why not? I mean, yes. They're not the favorites in the AFC, but they got to be a contender. Like I said, Buffalo hasn't yet beat a team with a winning record. Baltimore's up and down, and they just got destroyed by Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati is a little too young, with Joe Burrow at quarterback in his second year to be a true contender in the AFC as far as getting to the Super Bowl. The Chargers, a bit inconsistent themselves. So, yeah, I think you got to throw them in the pack in the AFC. We know they have the great running game, so if they get up on you, watch out. It's going to be tough to come back. Ryan Tannehill showed again yesterday. He's not a great quarterback, but he's a very good quarterback who I believe you can win a Super Bowl with. I know I mentioned they lost to the Jets a couple segments ago. Yeah, but A.J. Brown was out. Julio Jones was out. No excuse for losing to the Jets. But so that speaks to what they have to do is be more consistent, Nick. And obviously the defense is the big question. But if they can get to be a middle of the pack defense, Nick, and they held Kansas City. We've been trouncing the Chiefs, I know, but they did hold them to 3 points somehow. If they can get that defense into the middle of the pack like they were a couple years ago when they played the Chiefs in the AFC title game, then I think you really got something there in Tennessee.
Yeah, I absolutely do not think they're contenders, which is why that loss for the Chiefs was such an absolute disaster and an embarrassment. Any team they play in the AFC playoffs, the other team's going to have the better quarterback and likely the better defense. So no, you're not a contender. So when Ryan Tannehill, who we still grade on the Ryan Tannehill curve, but if he's in the playoffs against Lamar, Allen, Mahomes, despite yesterday, hell, at this point, Joe Burrow, there's not going to be an AFC playoff team or Justin Herbert, that Tannehill's better than their quarterback. And I do not trust that defense at all. Again, that's why yesterday's Chiefs performance was such an unmitigated disaster. They're 5-2. If Josh Allen can just not trip himself and fall on his face, they're 4-3. You mentioned the loss to the Jets, which is unforgivable. So no, Derrick Henry might be the league MVP, and I like A.J. Brown. Julio's not the guy he once was, but he's still Julio Jones. But no, I don't think they're a great team. I don't think they're a contender, which is why I do think yesterday's Chiefs performance was so unforgivable.
Yeah, and I don't want to pile on, but I don't trust the defense either. And the Chiefs are so out of sorts. Having a great game against Patrick Mahomes isn't really worth as much as it used to be. Sorry. Zach Wilson put up 290 yards. Trevor Lawrence with his giant neck had 270. Josh Allen, like you said, Nick, had 353 touchdowns. So just because you held Patrick Mahomes to a really weird game doesn't mean I all of a sudden believe in you. Although I do like Mike Vrabel.